the top rope into the barrier. She slapped Matt in the face, followed by an unprettier from Christian for the win. Following this, she tried to celebrate with Edge and Christian, but they both seemed rather confused. She tried to exit, but Matt would grab her by the hair, and then the Acolytes would beat up the Hardys. And yeah,
I'm gonna guess, was that Terry's next group she managed with the Acolytes?
I don't remember actually. I feel bad, but all right, moving on. So we'd have the winners, of course, Edge and Christian in 15 minutes and 5 seconds. 3.5 stars from me. So,
I think. What did I give it?
Yeah, 4.
Oh yeah, because I loved it.
Yeah. So following this, there would be a backstage interview with both Edge and Christian following the victory. Christian would say he wasn't expecting a win like that, but Edge pretty much says not to feel bad about it because the Hardys would have taken it too. And that they're going to WrestleMania to face the Dudleys. So then after this, we'd have a singles match between Taz and the Big Boss Man with Prince Albert in his corner. Oh, God.
This didn't even last long.
So Taz debuted at the Royal Rumble in the previous month, but his WWF run as a wrestler was very underwhelming, to say the least. Nowhere near the success he had reached in ECW. You could actually argue that he found more success as a color commentator, at least with WWE. But before the match would officially begin, the fight would start outside the ring. The match would begin shortly after Taz would apply the Taz mission shortly into it, and Albert would enter the ring and hit him from behind, causing a disqualification. After the bell had sounded, both Bossman and Albert would beat down Taz. They tried to sell it as Taz being resilient, and he constantly tried to fight back, but the 2-on-1 assault was ultimately too much.
Dude, this segment took forever.
Yeah, this went on way too long. I decided not to rate it because...
Did you give it 0.1?
Yeah, a quarter of a star, that would result in...
Yeah.
So, this wasn't even worth rating. Minute 23 was the recorded time, although I felt actually shorter than that.
Yeah, I know, right?
Maybe that... This is just where I got it from, the time, but maybe I have to start timing this myself. Maybe if you include, the little, fighting beforehand, I could probably see that then, but yeah, this felt like it was, 45 seconds stops.
Yeah.
Then they showed Kurt Angle still celebrating with the fans after this. This time he had a megaphone, and it appeared that he was at the top of the building in the cheap seats, as Jerry Lawler would say. The next we'd have a no-holds-barred match between Kane and X-Pac. Paul Bearer would be in Kane's corner, and then Tori would be in X-Pac's corner. They showed the video package prior to the match. They'd show X-Pac and Kane and how they were once a tag team, and actually tag team champions at one point. Twice they were, actually.
Yes, they were.
This pairing would show, I guess, the more human side of Kane a bit. Of course, X-Pac and Tori would both turn on Kane. Tori, they describe as Kane's first love. Haha. That would definitely not be his last, if you know what I mean. Start out, they'd fight their way to the entranceway, then they'd move through the crowd. X-Pac would hit Kane over the head with the ring bell. Then while both men were just down on the ground, Paul Bearer would start hitting X-Pac. Then Tori would slap Bearer, followed by him chasing her around the ring.
That was kind of funny.
That was kind of funny.
I've never seen Paul Bearer move like that, ever.
Neither have I. Then X-Pac would, or rather Kane, he would... Okay, actually, backtracking here. We still got a couple more things. I'm skipping ahead by accident. So there was a low blow and an X Factor to Kane. And then X-Pac would hit Bear off the apron, and then Kane would sit up. Then Kane would hit a chokeslam on X-Pac.
He sat up 3 times in the span of 15 seconds.
Yeah. And then and Tori would get involved, but Kane would drop her with the Tombstone Pile Driver. And then for the finish, X-Pac would drop kick the steel steps into Kane's face and would use the steel steps for leverage to get the win. But all in all, this is actually a lot better than I was expecting. X-Pac would win. 7 minutes, 50 seconds was the recorded time here. 2 3/4 for me.
I think I was just at 2. Yeah.
It's a 2, but this is still better than I was expecting on paper. I mean, yeah, there was story and everything, but that can sometimes only
Go so far.
Exactly, get you so far. So, yeah, so decent match for me. Next, we'd have an interview with Michael Cole. He'd interview the Radicals.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be the most disagreeing part of the whole show.
Yeah, we're kind of on opposite ends here, but that's okay. So next we have a 6-man tag team match, which would feature Too Cool, Rikishi, Grandmaster Sexay, and Scotty 2 Hotty versus the Radicals, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn with Eddie Guerrero in their corner. So the Radicals had debuted in the WWF World Wrestling Federation on the January 31st edition of Raw as Mick Foley's special guest. They were all straight out of WCW. These 4, Benoit, Malenko, Saturn, and Guerrero, they also spent time in ECW as well. They would turn on Foley, and all 4 men would receive contracts from Triple H. So this would be their pay-per-view debut match. Thought everyone involved did their part. For me, I thought the Radicals were good. I actually thought Sky Too Hotty did a pretty good job at selling during this. But in the end, Rikishi would hit the bonsai drop or rump shake or whatever you want to call it. Bonsai drop, of course, famously done by Yokozuna. He get the pin on Malenko for the win. Too Cool to win in 13 minutes 30 seconds. We're kind of opposite ends here for the ratings here. I liked it because I thought it was thought everyone involved did their part. I thought it was a really solid 6-man tag, and yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
For me, there was one point where too much shit was going on, and like I got lost during that match, and I had just no idea. Like I lost track on what the freak was going on, so like I couldn't really get into it as much. So that's why I'm a little low on this one. But other than that, I mean,
yeah. So, but that's okay.
But other than that, okay, let's just know this: that Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, their first pay-per-view ever, they lose.
I know.
Got those guys.
Yeah, that's true. So interesting decision, but of course, Malenko didn't have much of a run in WWF as much as he did other places, and neither did Perry Saturn actually, for that matter.
No, after this, Dean Malenko is stalking Lita for like his entire career, and
oh yeah.
And Perry Saturn has a nice, lovely stick.
Oh yeah, he's a moth.
Yeah,
but Benoit and Guerrero would obviously go on to have great success later on. But so 3 stars and a quarter for me. Much lower rating for you, but
well, we all have our opinions.
Yeah, we all have our opinions here. So next we'd have the WWF Championship #1 contenders match between Big Show and The Rock.
I totally forgot about this match at one point in the show.
Yeah, because I was just getting ready just to watch the Hell in a Cell match again.
You know what's really funny? Before I watched the show, did not know actually what event actually that Hell in a Cell match was.
Yeah, so this is probably just all.
Well.
So this is all coming back to you probably as it's going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because this is the first time I ever sat down and really watched this show in its entirety. Because I've seen obviously things from this. I obviously watched this Hell in a Cell match before in the past several times, and I did watch the Jericho and Kurt Angle match before also. But I think that's pretty much the only 2 matches I ever really saw from the show. So, as I said, there's a lot of pay-per-views we're gonna do I've seen before, and there's a lot of pay-per-views. There's a lot of matches I've seen, but some of the stuff is gonna be first time for both of us witnessing and viewing it. But this is why we do these. So we'd had the pre-match video package here for this match between Rock and Show. It showed The Rock winning the Royal Rumble match the month prior, but Big Show would plead his case that he should be the rightful winner because he'd show footage that it was actually The Rock's feet that hit the ground first, which they did. But that was a botch.
Yeah, you can totally tell that.
Yeah, it was a botch. I think they just used this and they just capitalized and turned it into an angle.
Right.
Smart. But, this match was set up to send the winner to the main event of WrestleMania. So the match would begin. Big Show was in control for most of the match. He constantly get frustrated with Earl Hebner over the near falls. One thing I didn't get during this is he'd bring a chair into the ring and he'd look to hit the Rock over. He looked to hit the Rock over the head with it.
Yeah,
which is dumb because if he gets DQ and then the Rock wins and he goes Mania.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand.
I think he did that because at one point the referee did not really care because they were brawling in the crowd and in a regular one-on-one match at one point. So
yeah, but the logic there, I can't get behind that.
well, you know how it is.
But later the official will go down. It's kind of weird how he went down too.
Mm-hmm.
But Shane McMahon would return here as the officials were later fighting.
As I alluded to, the officials did not get along.
Because Big Show had hit the choke slam, and then referee Tim White would have looked to make the count, but then Earl Hebner would pull him out of the ring. And then, of course, Shane would come out, and they're fighting. And then the Rock would hit the rock bottom. He'd go for the people's elbow, but before he could connect, he'd get cracked over the head big time with a chair shot from Shane. Then Big Show would go for the cover. Tim White would make the count. He'd count to 3, and then Big Show would surprisingly win this match.
Yeah. Probably honestly thought, like, The Rock would win because obviously it wouldn't played out later. But either way, not the way I thought of,
So Big Show would win in 9 minutes and 33 seconds. 2 stars for me, 2.5 for you. See, my thing is, I didn't think, for the most part, it was really that bad. I thought it was actually okay. But what ended up kind of, like, ruining it for me is, like, well, once again, like, some of the logic, like, when he brought the chair and he was going to hit him, it's like, he get DQ'd. Like, that was just kind of silly to me. That didn't make any sense. Then, like, then you had Shane interfere or whatever, which, I mean, that... You make that way you will. I mean, what's the attitude era without a little controversy and without a little shenanigans, Well,
but... I forgot. No, because now, no, the reason why it's 2.5 for me is, like, because now I finally understand, not because, one, it helped me understand, like, the story further,
Okay, I could see that.
Because I remember each McMahon was in those...
Yeah, each McMahon was in the corner of one of the participants at Mania, which we're going to get to at the end here. But then finally, we'd have the main event coming up here. So they'd show the video package for the main event. They'd show highlights of Mick Foley's famous or infamous, however you want to view it, Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker from the 1998 King of the Ring. Triple H would tell Foley or Cactus Jack that he could have him in any match that he'd like. So Cactus would choose a Hell in a Cell match. Triple H would pretty much say, I'm just freestyling here, that he had a deal as long as he'd put his career on the line. And Cactus would also say that Triple H would, of course, have to put the world title on the line as well. So the match was set. But prior to the match, they'd show Kurt Angle, once again, for the third time, celebrating his victory from earlier in the opening match, singing We Are the Champions. Then Jericho and Chyna would jump him from behind and put him in the trunk of his car.
Yep, you ain't getting out of that.
So then finally we'd have the main event here. A Hell in a Cell match for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. Triple H defending against Cactus Jack. And, of course, Stephanie McMahon Helmsley would be in Triple H's corner. So a month prior, these two had a classic matchup at the 2000 Royal Rumble event. They would put on another here on this night. So they'd start off fighting in the ring, in and out, around the cell. One of the spots that sticks out early on for me was when Triple H had the steps placed on top of Cactus Jack, and when he'd hit the steps with Cactus underneath with a chair.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah, that was super brutal.
Then Triple H would get busted open during this with Cactus using the cell as a weapon. Both men would bleed in this match, as probably expected.
Yeah, it was actually really... that was pretty... They were bleeding pretty brutal. Even, like, the cut on Foley's arm at one point.
Oh, yeah, you got the little laceration.
Yeah.
So, Cactus would jump from the second turnbuckle and drop a chair down on top of Triple H.
I was like, ooh.
Yeah, and then also Cactus would try to hit Triple H with the steps, but would miss and would break open the cage, and he would find an opening to the outside. From there, Cactus would deliver a pile driver to Triple H on top of the announcer's table. And then with Triple H placed